All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever had that feeling that life is just this huge, complicated game, but you somehow missed the day they handed out the rulebook? Well, you are definitely not alone. We're going to explore this idea that humanity is playing a massive team sport, but somewhere along the way we've all forgotten the rules. And that, right there, might be the source of so much of the chaos we see all around us.
I mean, it's a great question, right? Why does it feel like a disorganized free-for-all so much of the time? We're all on the same team, on the same planet, yet it often feels like everyone is playing their own separate, frantic game. Well, the idea we're digging into today suggests that this feeling isn't just in your head. It's a very real symptom of trying to play the game of life without knowing its most fundamental rules.
And this is the core idea right here. Think about it like a game of football. If none of the players knew the rules, if they just ran around doing whatever they wanted, it wouldn't be a game. It would be pure chaos. The argument here is that life works the same way. There are spiritual laws that govern our existence, laws that supposedly we all understood perfectly before we were born, but have forgotten since we got here.
So let's really look at the problem. What happens when an entire planet of people is playing this game without any shared understanding of how it's supposed to work? What are the actual symptoms of this collective amnesia?
Well, this is what it looks like. And it probably feels pretty familiar. Relationships turn into power plays about who's on top. Success, that just gets measured by how much stuff you can pile up. And our inner worlds get hijacked by fear, by anger, by constantly judging ourselves and everyone around us. Without those guiding rules, life just becomes this endless, exhausting scramble.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? When we forget the framework of cooperation, of service, of listening to our own inner wisdom, what's left? A power struggle. It becomes all about competition instead of collaboration, and, well, disorder isn't just a possibility, it becomes the default setting.
Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. Not at all. In fact, this is where things get really interesting. Because according to this perspective, we are standing at a major turning point. The old way of playing the game, that chaotic, ruleless way, is becoming so obviously broken that a huge shift is not just possible, it's inevitable.
Have you ever felt that little nudge deep inside you, that quiet voice that says, there has to be more to life than this? The source material calls this a divine dissatisfaction. It's like we're all feeling these collective spiritual hunger pains. The old diet of greed and materialism, it just doesn't fill us up anymore. And that hunger is what's pushing us to look for something real, something better.
Now, what's crucial to understand is that the chaos we're seeing isn't just random. It's part of a process, a three-stage process. First, you see social structures start to wobble and decay. That leads to stage 2, where the big institutions, governments, banks, you name it, they start facing these massive shakeups. And all of this breakdown, as scary as it can feel, is seen as necessary. It's like a forest fire that has to clear out all the old dead wood to make way for stage 3, new growth, a widespread spiritual awakening.
So if that's the problem, what's the solution? How do we fix this? Well, the idea is that it's less about learning something new and much more about remembering something ancient. We need to remember the spiritual laws of existence. But before we get to the laws themselves, we have to understand a little bit about how our lives are actually structured.
And this brings us to that massive, age-old question. Is it destiny or is it free will? The answer here is, well, it's kind of both. Think of it like this. Before you were born, your soul booked a round-the-world travel ticket with a few key destinations already locked in. Those are the big, unchangeable life events. They're inevitable. But how you spend your time in each city, what you see, what you do, who you talk to, how you react to everything, that is 100% up to you. That's your free will.
And this is where the idea gets really deep. What are some of those pre-booked destinations? Well, things like choosing the exact right parents, even if they're challenging, to learn a very specific lesson. Or arranging to experience a profound loss so that your soul can truly understand its essence. Or even planning a sudden life-altering event to act as a catalyst for your own growth. From our human perspective, these can feel like tragedies, but from the soul's perspective, they are deliberate, powerful opportunities. It's a radical way to reframe the toughest parts of our lives.
So what's the payoff? What happens when we actually start to remember these rules and align our free will with our soul's bigger plan? What's the reward for playing the game the way it was truly intended to be played?
Well, this is what it looks like. Life lived in alignment. You're not being tossed around by external chaos anymore. You're guided by a clear inner compass.
You start to operate from a place of love and trust instead of fear. The whole focus shifts from, what can I get from the world, to, what can I give? And here's the beautiful part. In that process of serving and cooperating with others, your own unique purpose, your real mission, finally becomes crystal clear.
And this quote really sums up the ultimate promise here. This isn't about waiting for some reward in an afterlife. No, it's about using these universal rules to completely transform your experience of life, right here, right now. It's about creating a state of profound joy, peace, and purpose on Earth.
So, it all comes down to this, really. If life is a game and the rules are just waiting for us to remember them, then that means we have the power to change how we play, starting today. It's an invitation to stop being a frustrated player in a chaotic match, and instead to become a conscious co-creator, ready to elevate the entire game. The only question left is, are you ready?